Welcome everyone to Yoga Behind Bars 2021 Power of Community. This is our largest fundraiser of the year. I'm Lauren Dupree, and I am so honored to be your host this evening. We have an exciting program in store for you tonight. As many of you know, at Yoga Behind Bars, we envision a world where all communities are healthy and thriving, where all people feel safe, connected, and valued. Through our programs, we open doors to self-understanding, resilience, and transformation. We advocate for transformative justice solutions, holistic reentry services, and the removal of other barriers that prevent people that are impacted by the criminal legal system from rebuilding their lives upon release. We work with the Washington State Corrections leadership to create opportunities within the system, including yoga classes for prison staff and yoga teacher trainings for yoga practitioners behind bars. Tonight, we will all come together to hear from the people behind our stories. Before tonight's main program begins, we will all join together for a light yoga session. Yoga is a 5,000-year-old practice. The word yoga literally means to yoke or to unite. When we decided to change the title of our annual fundraiser to the Power of Community, we did so because the last couple of years has proven how resilient and strong our community is. We might be separated by distance, but this organization has never let distance or bars stop us from being united. Following the yoga session, we'll take you on a journey of community as we raise important funding for Yoga Behind Bars.
All right, hello and welcome. My name is Alyssa. I will be teaching a yoga class for you today. I am very honored that you have chosen to join me for this practice. Today we will be talking about finding support and strength through your community. Also just being able to lean on someone, so having support. In lieu of that, we are actually going to be using blocks today. So if you are at home and you have some blocks, I suggest that you grab them. Also feel free to grab a chair if you're at home and you want the extra support during your practice today. So we are going to begin by just having a centering exercise, just in case you're coming into your space feeling a little bit crazy today. It's good to get into the mindset of having a little bit of quiet centering yoga. So if it's comfortable for you and you have a block, you can sit up on your block. I always like to do that because I feel like it allows my hips a much more comfortable seat. But if you don't, or you have a blanket and you would like to roll that and sit on that instead, feel free to do that. If it's comfortable for you, close your eyes. And if not, you can soften your gaze so that you're not focused on any one thing. Take a moment just to listen to your breath. Depending on how your mind is feeling today, maybe it's feeling busy or tired, just see if you can let all of those feelings slip away so that all of your focus comes to your inhale and your exhale. Without any judgment, simply noticing how air fills your lungs and leaves your body. Next, bring your focus and awareness to all of your points of contact with the floor. As you bring your awareness there, you may notice that you feel heavier. You can feel your weight melt into the floor. Notice how the ground supports you, how it holds up your legs and your feet and your backside. Notice if the floor feels solid or soft beneath you. take a moment to remember a point in time where you felt completely supported. This could be a moment where you were active. It could be a moment where you needed to lean on someone. It could be a moment where you were having an emotional time and you simply needed someone to hug you and say it was okay. Think of that moment and how it felt to be supported. Remember how that feeling existed inside of your body, whether it settled your mind or if it made you feel brave and able to move forward. Remember if you felt that in your chest or in your belly or just in the quieting of your mind. In that moment, did you feel relief? Did you feel courage? Did you simply feel ease for knowing that you did not have to go it alone? As we move through our practice today, we will use our blocks in many of the poses. And if there are moments where you feel off balance or unsure, please remember and bring back that feeling of being supported, knowing that it's okay to lean on something in order to find your footing, and that it's also okay to be off balance and to need to seek help. When you're ready, open your eyes. If you are seated on a block, go ahead and remove it. We'll be on the floor for a few more minutes before we come to a standing position. And so if it's comfortable for you, go ahead and stretch your legs out in front of you. If this position is not comfortable for you, that is totally okay. This is also not one of my favorite positions. If you are a person who sits for a living, maybe at a desk, your hamstrings might be really tight. And so it's okay to acknowledge that and maybe allow your legs to fall out to the sides or to sit with a wider length between your legs. So whatever feels good for you in this moment. I will keep mine in the center. So we are going to be on our feet for quite a bit today, so we'll give our feet a little bit of love, allow them to wake up before we ask too much of them. So let's begin just by doing some simple foot moves. First, point your toes. Feeling how that movement exists on the front of your legs and in your foot bones. Maybe you notice that you get a little bit of a cramp in your foot, in which case feel free to come out of and back into the pose. And then moving in the opposite direction, flex your feet. Again, if your hamstrings are tight or the backs of your legs feel especially tight, it's okay not to go to the extreme. Simply flex your toes. Move to the point not of discomfort, but just of feeling a slight stretch in the backs of your legs. And again, let's move through pointing and flexing. Pointing and flexing. Good, and then come back. And maybe wiggle your toes if that feels good. Then bring the soles of your feet together. We will be doing a bit of hip opening today, so just to initiate a little bit of openness before we expect too much of our bodies. Bringing the soles of your feet together. If it feels comfortable, you can hold onto your ankles. If it feels better to have your hands behind your hips, totally yogi's choice, whatever feels good in your body in this moment. I will continue to hold on to my ankles because I like to have that leverage so that I can really lengthen through my spine. Again, we're going to tap into our breath. So as you inhale, lengthen through the crown of your head. Imagine that your head is being drawn up towards the ceiling, but if you notice that your shoulders also start to raise, see if you can shimmy those down and away from your ears. Remembering that with that inhale also to exhale so that you don't find yourself holding your breath. Now draw your right foot out in front of you. Take your left foot and cross it over your right thigh. Right here might be enough for you. You should feel a bit of a stretch on the outside of your left thigh and into your hip. If this feels good and you would like to explore a little bit further, you can take a deep breath. Inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, bringing your left hand behind your left hip and gently twisting to the left. Again, remembering to breathe. Feeling this potentially in your shoulders, your back, and your hip. If you notice that anything is pinching or that any part of this feels uncomfortable in your body, simply feel free to let go of that twist. Take another deep breath in. Exhale and come back to center. And then switch sides. So lengthening your left foot out in front of you, crossing your right foot over your left thigh. Take a deep breath in, sweep your arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, twisting to the right, bringing your right hand behind your right hip. Noticing if this side feels different. It is really common to hold stress and tension heavier on one side than the other side of your body, so just acknowledging if this maybe feels different for you on this side. Remembering to breathe. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of your head. Exhale, easing into that twist. Noticing where in your body you feel this. Your hips, perhaps your shoulders, in your back. One more inhale. Exhale and come back to center. Just lengthening both legs in front of you. Maybe shake some of that out. We're actually going to make our way to standing. So if you can sweep around so that you come up into tabletop. We're going to make our way to standing in a creative way, so we will do our first down dog of the day, but first we're going to check alignment. So make sure that your knees are directly underneath your hips and that your hands are directly underneath your shoulders with your fingers spread wide so that you give yourself a really good base of support. And if your blocks are too far off to the side, make sure that you slide them over in case you find that you want them when we go into our first forward fold. Take a deep breath in, lengthening through the crown of your head, bringing that towards the front of the room, and the tail of your spine, drawing that towards the back of the room. Exhale, but do not let go of that length. If your toes are not already tucked under, tuck them under, so that on your next inhale, push into your hands and gently float your knees up and off the ground, just a few inches. Most of you are probably like, my abs are alive. That's okay. That's what we want. Take a deep breath in and exhale, bringing your knees back to the mat. So So when you push your way up into down dog, you don't want to use just your shoulders or just your legs. You want your core muscles to also help to draw your hips up towards the sky. So this next time, we inhale, push into your hands, float your knees up off the floor, and then draw your hips up towards the ceiling, coming up onto your tiptoes and pushing into your hands, and then push even more into your hands as you lower your heels in the direction of the floor. Please know that you do not have to bring your heels to the floor. I've been doing yoga for 8, maybe 10 years, and I still can't bring my heels to the floor. This is not about who is the most flexible, but about where your body is at today. Take a deep breath in, look up and towards your hands, and as you exhale, walk your feet up towards your hands, with a deep bend in your knees coming into our first forward fold. If you would like, you can grab your blocks to bring the floor up closer to you. What's great is when you need that support, it doesn't matter what level it's on. If your hamstrings are tight in this moment, maybe you need that block up on its highest level so that as you inhale, you can push into the block and straighten your legs and keep your back nice and flat and straight. As you exhale, fold forward. Inhale, push into the blocks, or if you have your hands on your shins, then you can push into your shins. Again, drawing your head towards the front of the room, keeping your back nice and flat. Exhale, folding forward. Using those blocks as much as you need them for that support. Having something other than the floor to lean on. One more time, inhale, sweep your hands up and overhead, coming up to stand. Exhale and sweep your hands down. Feels good to be standing. We have made it here. Just moving the blocks up and off of my mat. So you do the same. So what we're going to do today is move through a warrior sequence, but first we are going to talk about what mountain pose looks like. So when you are feeling a little bit unstable, I find so much strength in just coming into mountain pose. Most people think of mountain pose, if they know what it is, as just looking like this. However, there's so much more that goes into engaging in mountain pose. So it begins with the foundation, the place that we meet the earth when we're standing, which is our feet. So take a look down at your feet. And if you notice, maybe you stand with your heels in. That's okay, lots of people stand that way. Or maybe you stand with your heels out. Again, totally normal. Or maybe you stand with what you think is straight until you look to the sides of your mat. So everyone, take your feet and line the outside of your foot up with your mat. This might feel really weird. It might feel like you're standing a little bit pigeon-toed. That's how you know you're doing it right. So from here, we also don't want our knees locked. So give me nice, soft knees. Not bent, but not locked. And then check in with your hips. So often, people like to stand maybe leaning to one side or with your butt out because it feels good on your back, or even tucked over like this. So instead, we're going to find our way to a very neutral hip placement, which means that it might feel like your hips are tucked under just a bit. And one way to accomplish that is to push a little bit forward and then to look down at your toes and then look back up without actually changing the stance of your core. So what it should look like is that your rib cage closes over your pelvis. You might feel that your core engages in that moment. Remember to breathe. From here, check in with your shoulders. If you find that maybe this is making you a little bit nervous or anxious and maybe your shoulders are creeping up your back, see if you can do a really extreme shrug and then relax your shoulders down your back. so that it should feel like your head lengthens up and away from your shoulders. The last thing before we check in with our hands is your head. So notice if you are wanting to dip your chin down or tip your head back, trying to bring your head into a neutral 90-degree angle that comes from your chest. And lastly, our hands. So our hands often just like to kind of hang out and not do much, but in mountain pose, they are responsible for holding the world. So in mountain pose, you want to spread your fingers wide and face your palms forward. So your mind is probably really busy right now. It's definitely probably thinking about all these aspects of holding this very intense pose that maybe doesn't look like much, and yet it requires your attention and your focus. So if ever you find yourself in a moment where it feels like things are out of control, this is a really good place to come. And now remembering to breathe so that we inhale and we can still move, sweeping our hands up and overhead. Exhale, sweeping our hands down. Inhale, sweep your hands up. Exhale, sweep your hands down. Now we're going to work a little bit on some balance. So at what better time in your life than to need support is when you're trying to rebalance something or trying to find your footing. So everyone grab a block if you have one handy. And if you don't, that's totally okay. It's okay to not lift a foot off the ground. You can kickstand. There are many options. But we're going to work a little bit of balancing. So take a deep breath in and shift your weight onto your right foot and gently float your left foot up and off the floor. If it feels good, you can also stand on your block. So this is a balance pose as well. So kind of feeling where your body is at today and seeing what feels good for you. Maybe you lengthen your toes out. Maybe you need to do both. Touch and raise. Now flex your foot and point your toes and bend your knee and straighten your leg and flex your foot. And maybe you need a few moments on your block and then bring your foot back down. So just noticing how that feels in your body. And then we're going to switch sides. Be aware that one side might be a little more stable than the other, and that's okay. So check in with your feet again. Make sure they're lined up with the side of your mat. Take a deep breath in and shift your weight onto your left foot, floating your right foot out in front of you. Again, if you want your block, feel free to lean on your block for support. Your block is there to support you. Seeing kind of how you're feeling right in this moment. Maybe you want to explore a little bit of lift. Flex your foot. Point your toes. Bend your knee. Flex your foot again. If you're like me, maybe your leg's shaking. Straighten your leg. And then bring it down and shake that out. Now we'll add another little element to this, just to make it fun, because it's always good to see what your body is feeling like it can do today. So take a deep breath in, checking in with the alignment of your feet. Shift your weight onto your right foot. Float your left foot out in front of you. Bend your knee. And this time as you lean forward, slowly step your foot back and behind you into high lunge. So know that your mat is your space. You can take up so much space on your mat. You do not have to keep your legs very close together. If it feels better and more stable, you can do that. You can also take up from side to side more space, so that if that makes you feel more stable, this is a good place to be. So seeing how this feels to be in high lunge, if we take a deep inhale and sweep our hands up and overhead. Know that if any moment you're like, man, my thigh is burning, you can come up and out of this pose and then rejoin us when you're ready. Remembering to breathe, exhale. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of your head. Exhale, sweep your hands down, turn your back foot so that it's parallel with the back of the mat. Coming into warrior two. So that your hands are parallel with the floor. Check in with your feet. If this feels good for you, stay there. If you need to readjust your feet, that's fine too. Check in with your front knee. Make sure that your knee is aligned over your ankle so that you're not tipped in this way or out. Instead, coming to the most stable position that you can be so that you also support yourself in this moment. Take a deep breath in, sweep your hands up and straighten that front leg, giving it a little bit of a rest. Exhale, sweep your hands back down, coming back into warrior two. Inhale, sweep your hands up. Again, lengthening that front leg, giving your leg a rest. Exhale, sweep back down. Remembering to breathe. As we move through this sequence, again, at any point you can rest, come to standing. Even if you want to join us simply in child's pose, you can come down and rest there. Take a deep breath in, straighten that front leg, giving it a rest. Exhale, come back into the lunge pose. This time, rest your right forearm on your right thigh and sweep your left hand up and overhead towards the ceiling. If it feels good on your neck, you can even look up at your right hand. Your left hand. Take a deep breath in and out. In and out, coming back up into warrior two and straighten that front leg, giving your thigh a rest. Making sure that you don't lock your knee, that your knee stays nice and soft, keeping that joint supported and safe. Find your breath one more time. Inhale, sweep your hands up. Exhale, coming down into warrior two. Bending that front leg. This time, inhale, sweep your right arm up towards the ceiling and bring your left hand down onto your left thigh. Turn your palm towards your face. And if it feels good on your neck, look up towards your palm. This is exalted warrior, a pose of strength and always a pose that makes me feel very capable. Remembering to breathe, exhale. Inhale. Exhale, sweep your hands back up into warrior two. And then straighten that front leg. This time bring your hands to your hips and turn your front foot so that it's parallel with the front of the mat. And then inch your back foot, if it was a little bit wonky, so that your 2 feet are in line. And if you are skilled, also grab one of your blocks so that you have it directly in front of your mat. If it feels good for you, you can explore this. You might turn your heels just a little bit out and your toes in, or you can keep your feet straight. It is yogi's choice. Now we will just do a wide-legged forward fold, but with the support of our block, because the block will help you keep your back straight and keep you in alignment. So take a deep breath in, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward, hinging at your hips so that your back stays straight. This is what we want. And then bring your hands to your block. This can be up on the highest setting, on the medium, or on the lowest, but ensuring that your back stays straight. So often we need support in order to do well. in order to do something correctly or in order to keep ourselves safe. That's what our block is doing for us today. Take a deep breath in, lengthen through the crown of your head, and perhaps on your exhale, you might fold a little deeper. Inhale, push into your block, lengthen through the crown of your head. Exhale and fold. Inhale, bring your hands to your hips and come back up to stand. Now turn your heels in so that your toes point towards the corners of your mat. Straighten your legs. Inhale, sweep your hands up and overhead. Exhale, and this time bring your hands into Cactus Pose. So like this. And also, ensuring that your knees track directly over your ankles, bend down into a squat so that you're seated in this position. This pose is called Goddess. So a position of strength. Your torso is center and it is holding your body up so that your legs are simply leveraging you in this space. Take a deep breath in, sweep your hands up, take up space coming into star pose. Exhale, come back into Goddess. Inhale, coming up into star. Exhale, down into Goddess. Awesome. Bring your hands to your hips, straighten your legs, and then heel toe or hop your feet into the center. You might be warm and toasty. I'm definitely warm and toasty now. Your legs have woken up for the day. Now we have another side. So unfortunately, you're not done. So keep your blocks handy as we find our way into a balance pose on our other leg. So remember, feet hip width apart. Make sure that the outsides of your feet are in line with the sides of your mat. Take a deep breath in and shift your weight onto your left foot this time, bringing your right foot out to float in front of you. Again, if you want that on your block, that's totally fine. Yogi's choice for what feels good in this moment. Then bend your knee. Find your balance. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, and hinging forward, step your left foot back into high lunge again. This might feel different on this side. Maybe you feel more stable. Maybe you feel less stable. Simply noticing, without any judgment, how this feels in your body. Take a deep breath in and sweep your arms up and overhead, palms facing each other. Coming into this high lunge position. Again, remember on this side, it's the same as the other, that if at any point you need to take a break, you can sit, you can straighten your legs, you can come down into child's pose if that feels good. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale, and sweep your hands down so they're parallel with the floor, and then also turn your back foot so that it is parallel with the back of your mat. You may find as you come into warrior pose that you need to lengthen the distance between your feet. Take up room on your mat. This is your space. Remembering to breathe, even as your legs burn, that you breathe, inhale, straighten your front legs, sweep your hands up and overhead. Exhale, come back into warrior two. Inhale, sweep your arms up, straighten your front leg, giving that leg a rest. Exhale, coming back down into warrior two. Often we find the most strength when we also give ourselves the ability to rest when you need it. Remembering to breathe. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, sweep your hands up, straightening that front leg, giving that thigh a rest. It's doing so much work. Exhale. This time, bring your left forearm to your left thigh and sweep your right hand up and overhead towards the ceiling. If it feels good, you can also look up towards your hand. If not, just looking towards the right side of the room. Your thigh might be shaking, and that's okay. It's just a sign that your body is working. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, sweep your hands back up, parallel with the floor, and straighten your front leg. Exhale, resting in this moment. Inhale, this time, bending your front leg, bringing your right hand to your right thigh and your left hand up towards the ceiling, turning your palm towards your face. If it feels good in this moment for Exalted Warrior, you can even look up at your palm. Feeling the strength of this pose and the strength of your body in this moment. Remember to breathe. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Bring your hands down so that they are parallel with the floor. One more inhale. I know your legs are burning. Exhale, straighten that front leg. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn your front foot so that it is parallel with the front of the mat. If you need to, shift your stance so that your feet are in line with one another. This time I'll turn towards the front so that you can see. We're going to do Goddess one more time. So actually turn your heels in towards one another so that your toes point towards the edge or the corners of your mat. Finding ourselves in this strength, pose of strength. Inhale, sweep your hands up and overhead. Exhale, bring your arms down into what I call Cactus Pose, and then bend your knees, allowing your hips to sink towards the floor, but making sure that your knees stay tracking directly over your ankles. So feeling the strength of this pose. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, sweep your hands up, lengthen through the crown of your head, take up space, straightening your legs, coming into star pose, as if you're ready to embrace the world. Exhale, come down, arms into Cactus Pose, knees bent, as if you're ready to hold the weight of the world. Inhale, again coming into Star Pose. Exhale, coming down into Goddess. Awesome. Hopefully you're feeling the strength and your ability today. Take a deep breath in, straighten your legs, bring your hands to your hips, and then heel toe your feet in towards the center. All right. Just making sure that your blocks are right at the top of your mat so that we can use them for a few forward folds, making our way slowly down to the floor. Take a deep breath in, sweep your hands up and overhead. Exhale, hinging at your hips, folding forward, bringing your hands to your blocks. Again, allowing the blocks to bring the floor to you. You don't have to reach all the way down on your own. You can use these supports to make sure that this pose is accessible for you in this moment. Inhale, bring your hands to your hips. And slowly come up to stand. And exhale here. Inhale, sweep your hands up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward one more time, bringing your hands down to your blocks. This time, allow a gentle bend in your knees, really feeling yourself fold forward, and then slowly push through your heels, keeping your hands on your blocks and pushing your hips up towards the ceiling. Allowing yourself to feel the stretch in the backs of your legs. Inhale, push into your blocks, lengthen through the crown of your head, not coming up, but allowing your back to be flat. One more forward fold, exhale, folding forward. This time, move your blocks out of the way. Deep bend in your knees, bring your hands down to the mat, and then step your right foot back, and then your left foot back. Coming into high plank. Holding this just for a moment, feeling your body at work, and then bring your knees down to the mat. And if it's comfortable for you, allowing your knees to spread wide, bringing your toes together, and then push into your hands, drawing your hips back towards your heels, coming into child's pose. Breathing here in this moment. Allow yourself to feel held and supported, and to also know that you are completely capable. You've just asked your body to do a lot, and it has worked for you. When you're ready, come back up onto all fours, bringing your knees in, and then sweep around, coming to a seated position. I'm nice and toasty. I hope all of you are a little toasty too. Maybe it's because where I'm teaching is warm, but maybe it's also warm just because we've used a lot of our muscles, and I think that that's good. It's always good to acknowledge what your body does for you on a daily basis. We ask a lot of our bodies, and we often do not acknowledge the amount of work that they do. So my friends, I'm very happy that you were willing to join me today and to go on this journey. I hope that as this physical embodiment of a reminder that it's okay to lean on and need support, I hope that you also have moments in your life where you feel completely supported by your community, by the people around you, and that you know that you are encouraged and able to be brave because there are people and things that you can lean on for support. So thank you so much. In yoga, we say namaste, which means that the light and the beauty and the complexity that's inside of me also knows and recognizes those same things in you. And so with that, I say namaste.
That was great. I hope you're feeling as refreshed as me right now. If you're just tuning into the program, you missed an amazing yoga session led by a yoga teacher behind bars and now beyond them, Alyssa Knight. Welcome everyone to Yoga Behind Bars, Power of Community. I'm Lauren Dupree, and I'm your host this evening. I'm an actor, vocalist, writer, and filmmaker from Seattle, Washington, and yoga has played a huge part in my life, not only contributing to my physical health, but my mental and emotional well-being. Knowing the benefits of yoga firsthand, I'm honored to be part of this program tonight and work with an organization that's making yoga more accessible and changing people's lives. The amazing thing about Yoga Behind Bars is that they are offering a program unique to Washington State. YBB shares trauma-informed yoga and meditation to people directly impacted by the criminal legal system and communities worldwide to end the cycles of trauma and prison. That is why this evening's Power of Community is so important. Tonight, we will celebrate you, our community. And tonight, we will raise funds that will equip thousands of incarcerated youth and adults with practical, restorative tools to change their lives from the inside out. It's going to be an amazing evening, and we are so glad you are with us. First, I would like to thank some people for their dedication and support to the Yoga Behind Bars mission, our sponsors. Thank you to our lead sponsors, Brighton Jones and Gauze Law. Our partnership sponsors, Nicole Song Coaching and Unincarcerated Productions, our wonderful videography team. And a big thank you to our virtual ambassador sponsors, Doe Bay Resort and Shefa Yoga. Last but not least, a huge thank you to Sangha Yoga for allowing us to use their space for filming. Now, I would love to turn it over to our wonderful co-chair for this event, Holly Brockley.
Hello, welcome to our Power of Community event. Thanks for coming. My name is Holly Brockley, and I have been a board member since 2017. And this year I'm serving as board chair for YBB. I'm very proud to be a part of this organization that serves at the intersection of mental health, trauma, racial justice, and the prison system. As a mother, an attorney, and a yoga practitioner, all of these things are deeply important issues for me. I've been working as a litigator for about a decade, and I often compare my experience to that of being a mercenary. Working in the legal system is a world of battles, anxiety, and adrenaline rushes. And what's insane about that is the legal system was designed to redress harm. It's supposed to help people. And in my experience, in fact, it often cements harm and re-traumatizes. Now, as an officer of the court, I should say I'm a deep believer in the rule of law, but I feel we have a lot of work to do to make sure that our legal system is serving the people. Enter our work with yoga. When I first started yoga, I thought it would be a great escape, and boy was I wrong. Yoga is meant to be thoughtful confrontation and observation. And through our practice, we're able to observe our trauma and our pain and our anxiety and recognize what we are able to change and what we can't control and must surrender to. And this practice is something that is instructional to me daily. I often feel tempted to feel overwhelmed and powerless in the world we live in. And I find myself painting myself into a corner where my choices are feeling that I need to destroy myself to try to save the world, or that I can do nothing. And in fact, that's a false choice. Instead, there's a million smaller choices where I am empowered at every turn to do something small but meaningful. I can't save the world, but I can donate time or energy or money and make a difference. And so can you. And with each of these small choices that we make, they add up and they intersect. And collectively, as a community, we can make a really large impact. And that's true, especially for Yoga Behind Bars. Our organization does a lot with what we have. And I could talk about statistics and numbers of the many people we've served and how we've pivoted in a rough time during the pandemic. But what grounds me and what grounds our organization is the people that we serve. And so I invite you to listen to our people behind bars.
Hi, my name is Jeremy. I am a Yoga Behind Bars instructor, incarcerated instructor at Stafford Creek Correction Center. At the same time I was using yoga, we had a yoga instructor from Spokane Diane Sherman. She came into Airway Heights Correction Center, and we had been running classes over there for 5 years. She was phenomenal, and she and I had actually had a conversation about how could I become an instructor so that I could help do more classes over there, and I could also, where she can't do really any kind of hands-on modeling, I could as another inmate, I could do that. It's a great feeling. I'd say it's absolutely one of the biggest reasons why someone considered me to be a workaholic, because I'm teaching a bunch of classes, and I mean, it's just a great place to be, to be able to experience that. When you work, doing something that you love and it makes you feel good, then it's not really work at all. And that's definitely yoga for me.
All right, my name is Miriam Oliver, and I am currently at Washington Correction Center for Women as a yoga behind bar inmate instructor. Myself and Alyssa, we're really good friends inside of here as well. It was just to be able to provide a workout class for other people here. Really, that was our mindset of going into it, was, okay, we can be certified to, this physical aspect because we will work out a lot. And so the weeks went on in the teacher training, my mind was seriously blown, okay, yoga brings a totally different layer of this untapped space to be in. Really changed my intention of yoga and teaching yoga. It's physical aspect of it, but I would say for me, my teaching style with yoga is very gentle, and a lot of it is about meditation and just creating space and stability within yourself, and to be able to come back to center with yourself in such a place that is filled with chaos and noise all the time, and constant change, with, everybody says DOC is acronym for Department of Confusion. And so to be able to be in such a chaotic space and yet find stability and center, no one can take that away from you, no matter where you're at or what situations you are put in.
I'm Steve. I was a member of the first cadre of inmate instructors that was certified in 2016, February 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. For me, it's one, I enjoy yoga. I've been doing it since 2008. And this gave me an opportunity to practice it on a consistent basis, but also it gave me an opportunity to instruct other people in yoga, right? And one of the things I really like about teaching is that I'm able, to help other people, which in turn helps me, right? If I improve somebody else's mood, that's somebody that's going to go out and have a good day, right? And their good day can help turn somebody else's day around, right? So while ultimately my objective is selfish, it also helps the community in turn.
Yeah, my name is Yukio Redev. I go by Yukio. I first got introduced to yoga behind bars in about 2015, 2016. I had already been studying yoga in my free time, out of books in the library, and just kind of asking people questions, walking around the campus of Mainline. And YBB started teaching classes at Stafford Creek in about 2015, 2016. So I started going to the classes, and when they offered the teacher training in 2016, I signed up immediately. I think the most profound moments, the ones I remember the most, are when I'm up front, I'm teaching, I'm leading the class, and I hear a student ask a question about a pose or one of the limbs of yoga. They ask a question that I myself have asked my teachers before. And it feels like these lessons have come around full circle, and I'm now being able to impart them upon my students. It gives me a feeling of being connected to something bigger than myself, like I'm part of something that's older than I am, which is true. You know, there's a lineage that stretches back for a long time, thousands of years, and now I'm a part of it. And it also motivates me to do my part and pass on that knowledge even further, which I get to do as a teacher and continue to be a student as well. So I think organizations like YBB are definitely needed during times like these because of the message that we convey. Positive growth and change are what we are about, you know, whether it's physical change or mental change or emotional change or growth. And in my experience, that's the kind of thing that's needed in a setting like incarceration. And even when we're not in a pandemic, that's always something that will help kind of get guys out of prison and change their ways of thinking and help them make better choices and decisions. But since we're in a pandemic still, that need is even greater than before. And I feel like as long as YBB is around, we'll be able to reach all walks of life in all communities. And, you know, this might seem kind of lofty as a goal, but who knows, we might even be able to change the world at some point working together.
Wow, how inspiring is this? Yoga teachers in prison. Not only are they changing their lives, but also supporting other people in prison in their transformation and wellness. This is truly what the power of community is about. Did you know that Yoga Behind Bars was the first in the nation to put on a 200-hour yoga teacher training in prison? That's amazing. When the pandemic hit, all volunteer programs were suspended at adult facilities, not just for Yoga Behind Bars, but all programs. These teachers provided critical support to so many people when there wasn't access to programs or even visits from family members. Now that these teachers are getting out and preparing to get out, Yoga Behind Bars will need to train future teachers. Yoga isn't just important for practitioners behind bars, but also for those beyond bars. Check out this wonderful video of how doing yoga has continued to make an impact on the lives of people beyond them.
So my name is Grady Mitchell. I was recently released from incarceration after serving 37 years. I was released through commutation from the governor. My association with Yoga Behind Bars came when I was behind bars, hence the name. I became involved with Yoga Behind Bars back in right around 2015. It was really relaxed, it was calm, it was quiet. And so I think the effects of it was, as I began to understand the physiological, the connection with your breathing, with the exercises, with the poses, to how the mind plays tricks on you to tell your body different things, which in essence, anxiety attacks, that's what's going on. And so I was like, okay. And at the time I was lifting weights. I was one of those, I'd go in the gym and, 225, 10 times, and I was one of those guys. But after I left out of that class, I had muscles I never knew I had in places, and I was sweating like I had lifted 500 pounds, and I was like, man. And so it really was something to it. So that was my initial introduction to Yoga Behind Bars. The benefit simply is that Yoga Behind Bars actually benefits an individual's psyche. And to have the materials, to have the program actually go behind the bars and give that to individuals, which is, like I said, it's life-changing skills. It gives them something for a lifetime. They come out much better. They come out with an even thought. They come out with a more positive outlook on what they're doing. So when they run into those obstacles, they know how to bring themselves down to a level of calmness and peace. So if you want to feel great about yourself, absolutely, Yoga Behind Bars.
Hey, my name's Olath. How I got involved with yoga, I was once incarcerated for an extended period of time, and at a certain point in my incarceration, I felt like I needed something new, something different to clear my mind, most of all, and to find some peace in a pretty chaotic place. A lot of those friends and family members was like, you should try yoga, you should try meditation. So I asked around and found out about a program. So I went, and after the first time I went, I kind of fell asleep after the first practice, and I was so calm that I fell asleep, and I woke up and just found myself just exhausted of all the things that I was trying to get out but couldn't get out of my mind and my body. And I just remember afterwards I was sleeping better. I felt like I was more grounded. I felt like I could think more clearly, so I began to do it more and more. Started getting my name on the call out, put on the call out more and more to go to Yoga Behind Bars and do those practices.
My association with Yoga Behind Bars, that's family to me. Yoga Behind Bars has been like very, very instrumental in my development as a conscious individual. Yoga came behind bars and seen humanity in me in a place that doesn't honor my humanity. And through my incarceration, they've been there at different institutions with the same exact intent, and it's to connect us, ground us, and see us for our humanity. So currently right now, I'm trying to get enmeshed in whatever they have to offer and add value and sustenance to the organization.
It was divine. It was a good thing to, rely on, and that helped me change my ways and not end up in jail. I'm not a felon. I'm 21 and I graduated high school, And
all
now I
things
got
that
my
I didn't do.
Yeah, and broke that cycle, and I'm just glad he's here now, because, yeah, it's my pops, man.
So my name is Alyssa Knight. I have been practicing with Yoga Behind Bars basically since I started practicing yoga at Washington Correction Center for Women. That was roughly 8 or 9 years ago. So it started with some workshops that were going on, but then became more of a regular classes that were held there. And then I went through instructor training about 3 years ago. And so I've been teaching yoga on my own at WCCW. So yoga as a whole, it really helped me find my center. I had been a really active person, when I got to prison, and I was full throttle, I'm gonna make sure that this time means something, after obviously the initial first few years of stumbling and being an irresponsible young person. But after that, I started just really taking an active role, trying to get into education, investing in my health, and I was doing all these things, and I was thinking hey, I'm doing really good things for myself. And then I was I'm gonna go to this yoga class. And it was in that moment of having to sit and be quiet and be still with myself that I figured out that forward movement wasn't necessarily change happening. It was me filling this void with something else. And so it was in those moments where I was sitting and sitting in meditation, sitting in a breathing exercise, basically asking my body to be still, asking my body to do things that were really uncomfortable. It was in those moments where I feel I started to actually grow and change and become okay with just sitting in discomfort. And that was the moment where it was I was pushing against the boundaries. I wasn't just creating a new habit, right? Okay, I made bad decisions before, now I'm making good decisions. I didn't eat well before, now I eat well. I didn't exercise, now I exercise. This was changing my thinking, allowing me to actually face myself and face the things that I had done and be uncomfortable and be okay.
I invite everyone to take a deep breath with me. Powerful. This is our community. These are people who are defying stigmas to heal our community. They are not felons or criminals. They are parents, loved ones, nonprofit leaders, reform advocates, board members. This is the power of the YBB community and the power that yoga has to unite and heal.
Hi, my name is Greg Steen, and yoga literally changed my life. I just spent 13 years in prison doing life without parole sentence. Due to recent legislation, I was let out. I can't tell you how yoga has been instrumental in my life. For starters, I first saw an advertisement on the prison wall which advertised for a yoga teacher training. I jumped at the possibility to do something different with my life, and somehow I knew that there was more behind that door or that poster than met the eye. I signed up for the training and went in 2015 and returned to Clallam Bay in 2016 to teach alongside great teachers from the community in the local area. But it not only changed my life in a small capacity, but it worked within. We call this freedom within. And so somehow I believe strongly that because me standing here today is in part to a simple act of courage from the great people from Yoga Behind Bars. I ask you to give today. $10,000 can pay for a yoga workshop series at Echo Glen Children's Center for both youth and staff. $5,000 pays for someone like me to go through a 200-hour yoga teacher training behind bars. $2,500 helps us uplift the voices and tell the stories of those who serve both behind bars and in the community, including paid speakers who give opportunities for people like me who are just getting out and getting on their feet. $1,000 helps us support teachers with supplies, books, mats, and communication with our program staff. $300 pays for a scholarship to our trauma-informed yoga trainings. Really, anything helps. Every donation counts. You are helping people like me return to the community with the tools necessary to succeed in a sense of community and power that makes me feel like I belong. Again, thank you for your years of support and hopefully years more to come.
Thank you, Greg. And thank you to everyone tuning in this evening. Yoga Behind Bars is an organization that could not be where it is today without your support. Again, if you can make a donation to change the life of someone who is incarcerated, we urge you to do so. To make a donation, you can click the donation button right below this video, or you can go to yogabehindbars.org. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a wonderful evening. The light in me honors the light in you.